To say okay.
Right. So, hi everybody, and welcome to this very special interview with the Butterfly Princess Show. My guest today is Shelley Cowan, who is a public speaker, inspirational speaker, and an accessibility advocate. Hi Shelley, it's really nice to meet you, and thank you for agreeing to do the interview.
Hi, Steph. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real privilege.
So, the first question. Obviously, you went from you were sort of bedbound for a period of 12 years of immobility. So how did surviving that period of isolation, because it was a very long time period of 12 years, from where you are now to sort of shaping your vision for more inclusive spaces?
Well, we all know with COVID, it was 3 weeks or a few months was a very long time and it felt very isolating. But 4,380 days, which is 12 years, it's it's a long time, and you know you're out of circulation and society for a long time. And at that stage, I didn't know if I would ever improve. So it was difficult to get through. I'm not going to lie and say that it was easy. Very, very difficult, very sore. I can't remember a lot of it. There was days seemed like years, and other days just flew by because I was so ill. But isolated, yes, I had my family and my dog and a couple of budgies for companionship, a few carers coming out, and that was what I knew of society. So it was tough, but you had to keep looking positive towards someday life will get better, and thankfully it did.
And would you mind sharing what your disability is or was?
So I was fine. I was healthy and a happy child until I was 15. Well, I fell out of a hay shed, which probably didn't help me. I fell on my forehead. And I was always a child that would have got infections. But apart from that, I was quite healthy. And I got a virus. And to me, the best way to describe it is it was like it wiped a computer. I just wasn't able, I lost my memory. Over time, I wasn't able to do stairs. My mum and dad were having to lift me. And then I was confined to bed for 12 years. And I was diagnosed with severe myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is severe ME. But at that stage, they weren't sure if I had a stroke or what had happened. So it was a long process to be diagnosed.
So we're now going to talk about the purple pound sort of. So you emphasise that inclusion isn't just good ethics, but good economics. Can you share a time when a business truly surprised you by emphasising, embracing the purple pound?
Yeah, it's actually an activity or a boating trip locally to me on Lough Erne. They have fully accessible, wheelchair accessible entry on. They can take about 6 different wheelchair users at a time. But not only have they gone for physical, um, kind of physical environment where anybody can use it, it's very sensory as well because it's solar. So there's no noise, it's very smooth, and it's it's fantastic how they have brought accessibility that actually works for everybody.
Thank you. And tech is a bridge. So, but you've stated that those assistive tech help you earn your masters. What emerging technologies excite you most for breaking communication barriers?
Well, on a daily basis, I use voice recognition, and that has just made my life. Yeah, it has given me so much independence. It has supported me through everything I do, through, as you say, studying. I am a disabled entrepreneur. It helps me with my emails, everything like that. But I'm very excited to see how AI can actually help in the future. I know it must be on make sure that it's tech for good, but AI has some impressive things coming up. Even to help as an assistant, or help people. I've been speaking to those people who can't speak, but they're able to type into AI systems and can actually hold conversations then, and it stores their memory, so they're not having to repeat that and repeat it. So I think over time it's going to be a very, very beneficial for communication. But yeah, definitely. The voice assistive technology has improved so much from over the years. I used to have to be in-house beside a computer, beside my big headphones to be able to use voice recognition. Now I can carry it in my pocket with a pair of headphones, and I am doing just as independent as anybody else. I can send my messages, I can answer calls, I can go on to Zoom calls, I can do everything really. I can even go on and do bad shopping on the internet just by listening to what I shouldn't be listening to and buying away. And yes, a few mistakes have come, but it definitely gives me a lot more independence.
So, as the founder of Access Avenue, what's one architectural design flaw you encounter? I experience this daily, that because I'm a wheelchair user, that that you encounter that maybe a non-disabled person may overlook.
Well, I was a wheelchair user for 10 years, and the one thing on a daily basis that would have got me would have been the curbs, the high curbs, or somebody parking along a pathway and you couldn't get past. But as a design fault, I would say heavy doors, because the first thing that you meet as you go to any venue is steps, no ramp, or heavy doors. So that's the first thing, that you can't actually enter the building. So I would say that the major fault there is you can't actually let the people in if those faults are there.
So you also did the Accommodation for All campaign, and within that campaign, your research exposed gaps in accessible travel. What was the most absurd access fail that you've documented in that research?
Well, there was quite a few, to be honest. There's quite a few. Everything from what we know, it's not easy transferring people on airlines and aisles, but probably the saddest is the amount of people cannot participate at all. But the saddest thing I've actually came across is where somebody has paid for a room to stay, and they've actually had to sleep in a pool lounger because they couldn't fit into the room. So it breaks my heart that people don't realise how bad actually is at the minute.
Yeah, I fully understand that as well. So, being part of Tech Found Her, a program by women for women, what advice would you give to disabled girls and women eyeing a a, a STEM career?
I would say if you are passionate about something, I would say go for it. The tech has improved so much over time. I would not have thought at any stage I was techie. I actually probably would have ran the furthest from it. If computers don't work, I'm very frustrated with them. But the more I think about it, I've lived my life with tech, with voice recognition. But tech has the ability to do so much good and to improve people's lives, that if you have a passion and you have something that is actually a barrier in life at the minute, tech can actually help that, and you can actually, with your ideas and your passions, build something that could maybe help those people, or help yourself, or help people in the future.
Yes,
Go for it. Go for
I
it.
can fully understand that as well. I mean, I'm not as techy as obviously you are, but I use a lot of AI, sort of revision buggies when I'm doing my show, because mine's an educational show. I will use educational like AI tools to help write the things that because I can't write because of my disability. So that's one way in which tech helps me as well.
It's amazing. It's like
Yeah,
your virtual assistant,
yeah,
and you feel so much more independent when You're not having to ask a person or a human to do it
Mm.
for you. You're still doing it yourself, and it's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously you are the first Northern Ireland's first Purple Tuesday
It
ambassador.
is a bit of a mouthful.
Tuesday. So how does cultural stigma around disability sort of differ globally, and what can the UK learn from other regions?
Well, Purple Tuesday is a global movement, and it is doing a great job globally to help people and to help people have the same experiences. There is differences. I would even notice it here from Northern Ireland to mainland UK. We don't have as much accessibility over here as what you would have over there. But I was at a recent, what was it, World Travel Market, and Spain actually are becoming very, very good. They're actually setting up a policy and a 10-year plan for the country to become more accessible and inclusive. And I was just blown away with the fact that that country came together and are promoting it. And I think we could learn a lot from that at the minute.
So you all, as you work as a keynote speaker, so you blend data with raw storytelling in speeches. So how do you sort of challenge audiences to move beyond inspiration, sort of palm to achievable change?
Well, I always start off by saying about my lived experience, explaining my lived experience, experiencing the barriers and the challenges. I never point finger at anybody to say they're doing wrong because we only know what we know. But I explain from figures that I have gleaned from research or statistics to show that anybody at any stage can become part of the community that we both are in. And it's it's the one fact that the majority of us will become or have a disability throughout our lifetime. So when you start to tell people this, it actually makes people stop and think, actually we do need to start making improvements because that might be me or my children or the next generation. And it's only when it's put to them that it could be your loved ones, if not you, it could be your loved ones, your neighbour, your friends, your family, that this can actually happen to, then it is very stark and very real. It brings it back.
Of course. So you talk about inclusion for everyone. For every one of us. So what first steps should our allies take to amplify disabled voices?
I would say no matter what organisation, just include everybody's voice, include everybody's opinion, and ask where their difficulties lie, and just come together and understand that the majority of your workforce will have either a physical or disability or neurodiversity. There, it's rising all the time, and the more that you can include people, the better it is for your organisation.
And if you could dismantle sort of one systematic barrier overnight that comes across for disabled people, what would it be, and then sort of what would the world gain from getting rid of that barrier?
The one barrier that I would change would be attitudes. Attitudes that it will never happen to you. Attitudes that we don't need to change. If you became more empathetic and started to understand and actually realized, as you said, not only good for society but good for the economy, then that mindset change would be a complete opener to a totally different world. It would be an accessible world that includes everyone. And, if people became more willing to do one change, I'm not saying change the world overnight, one change to your organisation, should that be every year, then it makes life, over time, that will make life much easier for everyone.
And you've also done a lot of other exciting things like zip wires, going on roller coasters. skydiving. Many assume these sort of activities that you've done, being a disabled person, many people assume that, you know, because we're disabled, we can't do them sort of things. So, how do these experiences dismantle stereotypes, and what's your boldest take that limitations moment sort of?
Well, I'll clarify. It was an indoor skydive, but I have done many a thing I probably shouldn't have done. If the doctors knew or many a person knew, I wouldn't be allowed to do them again. But I have, because I was confined to bed and out of society for so long, I'm still feeling like a teenager. I still want to do everything that I missed. And I have this drive in me I just want to try it, just want to try it. So I have a great team of carers that no matter what I say, they're prepared to go along with it. And they've brought me up mountains, they've brought me go-karting, and they're just willing, and they don't see me as a person with disabilities. They see me as somebody that needs to understand these experiences. And sometimes it has been four people lifting me in and out. And I know that's not always possible. But what I would say is push your boundaries, push your limitations, and by doing that, you show society that we can do a hell of a lot more than what we look like we can do or what is believed we can do.
So obviously we've talked about we touched very briefly at the beginning about COVID and how that sort of isolated people, but it would have isolated disabled people even more. So it was at this period that you set up Just Us. How did the pandemic's barriers inspire you to create space for connections and thrill seeking among disabled adults?
Well, COVID was a really hard time for me. I had just started to become independent. I was a wheelchair user, starting to be getting out to pubs and things like that. And to be told that I had to go back into that house that I had been in for 12 years constant was a complete nightmare. And that was a hard time to do. But I had set up Just Us probably about a year before that because of the challenges that I had found. Everywhere I wanted to go, I wanted to go to the pubs, I wanted to go to the clubs, I wanted to go and be danced around the floor in my wheelchair. I wanted to just be, as what we call, as close to normal as possible. But unfortunately, I come from a very rural part of Fermanagh, and a lot of the buildings are, for all of these hairdressers, everything was upstairs. So I started to realise it. I started to feel a wee bit sorry for myself and feel everybody's going out and doing these things and I can't, and why. And then I started to realise there's more than me. I started to meet other disabled the community, and they were seeing their brothers and their sisters going to university, coming home at the weekend and going out, and they were stay at home with mum and dad or their parents or their guardians, and they were just television, and that was their life. So I started to realise something needed to change to give everybody a bit of confidence, something to look forward to. So before COVID, thank goodness we didn't know COVID was about at that stage, I set up Just Us. And where we couldn't physically go to the venue, I hired the venue, and then we brought in singers and entertainment, and it was absolutely fantastic. Great bunch of volunteers to keep the whole thing running. And it was brilliant. And then COVID came. So those people who hadn't anything really to look forward to, had something to look forward to, and COVID just shook it to its bones. We, right to the core, we didn't even know if Just Us could come back at all because we were dealing with so many people at risk. And so we kept Just Us off a wee bit longer than we should have, just to make sure everybody was okay. And then we came back with a bang in 2020 in October with a big Halloween bash. We had done an outside one, which we were allowed to do, but a complete indoor one was the Halloween of 2020 and I think 2020 or 21. And it was quite emotional to come back and everybody, be back out again, socialising. And from that, we have just expanded and expanded, and Just Us has been growing year on year. We now do walk and talks, cheer and beer, karaoke. We're starting our own podcast next week. We're interviewing local celebrities. We've brought them to BBC Sing in Ulster Hall. So they've been singing for their country. I'm doing choir tonight. Walk and talk on Monday night. We ended up sitting out in the lovely sunshine. Bringing them to Titanic experience. We're going to Ulster American Folk Park, which is to see how life was years ago. So it's educational, it's sensory, it's you name it, we've got it. We do dinner dances. So yes, COVID was at a point where we thought, how are we going to deal with it? But now life is completely open again, and everyone is thriving. They're loving it, loving it.
So obviously, we're talking about all the activities. I mean, they all sound fun and stuff. I mean, I wish there was something like that from where I live.
You could come over.
Yes, of course. I mean, where I live, they have like disabled groups, but it's just like, watching television, reading magazines, and then you've got to be in for like 8, 9 o'clock. It's like you've got to be in bed for a certain time. But what you do sounds like a hell of a fun. I'll have to come over sometime. So
They keep me busy. They keep me busy.
You've obviously talked about, when COVID came, there was a lot of people, in the higher risk groups. So, like, obviously, just also provide activities for accessible and exhilarating. But how do you manage that sort of balance from, you want to make it fun and exhilarating, but you've also got to think of health and safety, how are these people going to be safe and all that? Because you don't want health and safety like these days. It's
way beyond.
Yeah.
Well, basically, because I have been a wheelchair user and because I now can walk with support, I know a lot of what's needed to help in a range of disability. So we are open to any disability as long as it's over 18. So it's adults with disabilities. So we are managing physical, sensory, you name it, we're managing everything. But it works. It works. We adapt to suit whatever suits a lot of people. Most people, because it requires so much help, they have their carer with them. So we just work around what suits them. And if that is that they want to sit in the corner for the first night and just take it all in, you leave them and you let them be. If they want to join in, we dance with them. You work to what people can do. The venues are all accessible. And if they're not, we have a team that makes sure that you can get in, or we ask barmen to help us, and we do whatever we can. We bring a community together. We use accessible bikes. We've brought them out canoeing, and we have to do all risks assessments. We have to go through council to allow us the like of the accessible bikes out. So there was months of planning, but we are so proud. Accessible bikes were only allowed to be in our local, it's called the Forum, it's a local sporting centre, and they were only allowed to be in and around that hall or around the racetrack. But on 17th of March for St Patrick's Day, we actually brought accessibility and inclusion to the main street of the town, Enniskillen. We had handbikes, we had, you name it, all different types of bikes in the parade with people with disabilities, showing disability and what we can do and what is possible on a large scale. Now, to get there was a lot of paperwork, a lot of documents, a lot of going back and forward with our insurance company to make sure that it was possible. The council wanted us to make sure, that everything was in place. So we had a lot of doing, but again, volunteers and the committee got it to the stage where everybody had a role to play, and it was amazing. It was fantastic to show people who maybe never knew that there was such a thing as a different type of a bike that actually somebody else could use. That opened up a complete mindset, and it changed perceptions on that day.
Sounds really fantastic, and I hope that when this interview goes out or Dennis puts it on this magazine website, I really hope that there'll be other people out there who do groups all around the country and will be able to take inspiration from you and realise that disabled people are just like everyone else. They shouldn't be just made to go home at like 8 o'clock in an evening or do like mundane activities. We want to see more
We
fun.
want energetic
Yes,
enthusiasm.
yes,
We want to
yes,
live, and that's
yes, of
basically what.
course. I'm gonna move on now to talk about your accommodation campaign. You did this campaign in 2024, and this was to target hotel accessibility gaps. So, can you share a pivotal moment when a hotel's transformation under your guidance became a model for others to follow?
I am going to say it wasn't a hotel, it was an accommodation. It was actually an accommodation, but it was more a private accommodation. And it was a house where they had 5 bedrooms. It was a luxury house, and they had a hotel sized lift in it. And I went and did a accessibility audit with it. And that has now become a house where anyone can go to because she has a portable hoist. This lady invested in a few wee tweaks, nothing major, and it actually allows anybody to go there now, and it's being used for families to come together, a big house, have your family together, and those families may have wheelchair users in them, but it's a place, a safe place where everybody can be together. And I just think it's amazing. It's amazing that that opportunity is available and that people take my word on board and see my vision. And it's amazing that she went with it, and it will help so many people.
And
That,
obviously,
that's
and
Bramley House, and it's you should look that one up.
family house. I will.
Bramley House.
Yeah, so about your accessible tourism management mission, and I'm totally with you on this. As a disabled person myself, I've not been able to travel to some destinations because of receive a wheelchair and not the person, and I believe that there's this disability tax where the moment they hear that you've got a disability, the price trebles, so you're paying treble what a non-disabled person would pay for exactly the same holiday or experience. So, what fuels the fire in you for accessible tourism, and what's one injustice you've experienced or witnessed that you're determined to change?
For me as a wheelchair user, when I was a wheelchair user, to be able to go even on a night away, I had to purchase a portable hoist. That was £1,200. That wasn't just the cost, it was the weight of it. It was my carer had to pull it along a corridor with a dog lead. I had to bring up blow up mattresses for my carers. There was a whole load of work that wasn't needed just to be able to stay away. If I could change anything within the hospitality industry, it would be that every single venue would have a change in place on the ground floor. Maybe not to allow those people to stay, but at least to allow them to go to a wedding, a celebration, an anniversary, to be able to stay a full day. But my wish would be that every hotel would have one room that would have an overhead hoist so that people can travel with complex needs and without the extra hassle of purchasing their equipment, bringing their equipment, having it because they're already overladen with things to do, and it should be a holiday. And as you say, the prices are extortionate at times, and those people are not paying for just one room, they're paying for possibly another room for a carer. If there's no bed there, they have to start bringing air beds and blow up beds. So there's so much can change there. At very little can help so much.
Of course. And you also have a number of dietary needs. So you turn, like when you go out to eat, you sort of finding a suitable place to eat for you into a bit of an adventure. So, what's your top tip for travellers with restrictions navigating new cuisines, and how does accessibility play a part into this adventure?
Well, chefs just love me. I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, meat-free, refined sugar-free, and yeast-free. But the main thing I would say when I'm trying somewhere new is research. So if you have time, research it, check the reviews, and make sure that they are definitely what they're saying. If you don't have time, go into the venue or ring it and ask a few questions. And if there's any pauses or I don't know, or I'll check it out, or it should have, or it should be okay, that is not the venue that you should be eating in. If you go somewhere and they can sit you down beside them, pull out a menu and say, you can have that, you can have that. You can't have that, but I'll get the chef to change it. That is where you stay. And accessibility comes into that because if you can't go to those places because of your dietary requirements, well, you can't be at the table with your friends and your family. So that's not just as a wheelchair user, that's just as a dietary requirement. That is another access barrier.
Course. And the travel, I've got to talk to you now about your travel book, because I'm, even though I can't travel as much now because my family has medical needs and we can't travel very much because of insurance prices, but I love to travel and I love to um share travel, and one of the episode the series that I do with the Butterfly Princess is the Butterfly Princess Show Travel Lounge, where I take the audience on a virtual tour of sort of a country each month. So you've obviously got your own travel vlog book, a real hunger for experiencing different cultures and places. So how does accessible tourism enrich everyone's experience, not just that of someone who's disabled?
Well, I have the travel bug probably from the time that I was confined to bed. Every one of my friends and family, if they ever were away, I got postcards delivered through the post. So they kept me in touch with the world, even though I was confined to a room. So for years, I had postcards from every part of the world, including Antarctica, Australia, you name it, all pinned around me. And I used to say, I will be to all of those countries. And people used to look at me as if, not sure. But I had it in me that that's what kept me going, to see the world. And the world opens up so much for people. It gives everybody so much to look forward to. But an accessible world allows an elderly person that has sore knees be able to walk somewhere if they can't go up steps. It's not just for wheelchair users, it's for the mothers and parents with prams. It's for people who can't walk long distances. Accessible and inclusive tourism just is my ideal of an ideal world where everybody can go wherever and nothing stops them.
Oh, that is a really great mantra to have in life, I feel. So obviously we've talked about, your various dietary requirements and accessibility. So could you share with us a memorable meal from your travels where restaurants nailed both your dietary requirements and accessibility needs?
Oh my goodness, there's been so many people that have been so helpful. I go in and when I give my list of what I need, for most people, they would kind of turn you at the door and say, so lettuce and a bit of water it is. But the amount of people that have actually sat down beside me and went through a menu and made sure that I could actually eat in the place, there has been so many and so many kind people out there. Um, Indians and Thai, I have discovered that Indian restaurants and Thai restaurants have been the best to cater for my needs. But it's been amazing the amount of food that I've been able to try and taste, which I never thought I would have. But it's becoming more and more known gluten free and dairy free. Dietary requirements are becoming in a way trendier as well, not just for people with disabilities. So that actually helps us in a way. But no, if you find the right place, then you keep going back. I find the one place is I can't have ice cream, but I can have ice cream in London in a place called Yoli. It's dairy free, it's sugar free, and I crave it. I crave it, but it's my treat when I go to London and I go and I sit at the window and I listen to the world go by while I'm eating my pistachio ice cream. And it's just amazing where food that most people take for granted, they can go in and have an ice cream or a nice lolly any day of the week. And, I just sit there with my wee ice cream that I mightn't get from one year to the other. So about 6 months before I would get it, and it's brilliant.
Of course. And I think this is a really good note to sort of end with. So we've already talked because it sort of ties in with everything we've talked about. So if you could imagine a world where accessible tourism is the norm, so there's no barriers whatsoever, which would be perfect. What's the first change you make to airline hotels and attractions to get us on that right path?
I would say again, it leads back to the hoist. It leads back to ensuring your lifts are maintained. Simple things like having your frontline staff trained in disability awareness to invite them in and be welcoming from the very, very start. Because I have been to places that are far from accessible, but when somebody goes that extra mile and says, look, we can't do that, but we will do our utmost to try and help you, that is like giving me £1,000,000. And sometimes it actually is the difference from being able to stay there or not. And those helpful people is what will guide accessible tourism. It's not all about the physical. It's not all about the sensory. It's about from you go in, from that person at the desk, not taking a side glance, but actually looking at you as another guest who maybe has a need, but it's no different than somebody coming in with a child that needs a cot. Somebody might have an access issue and somebody might have a dietary requirement, but every guest that walks or rolls through your door should be seen as someone with unique needs, that what they can do to help. And that basically is where it would start.
Oh, well, thank you, Shelley. It's been really great to talk with you, and I've fully enjoyed our chat. And thank you for taking the time again to chat with me today.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you so much.
I will sign off now. So thank you for tuning in, everyone.